Welcome again. We discuss on the testing of the tillage equipment. Now, as quality is concerned, we measure the depth of cut, that is the vertical distance between the furrow sole and ground level is referred as a depth of cut, and the depth should be measured at a minimum 10 places and its average taken. Now, the soil inversion is the process through which the furrow slice is inverted, and soil inversion is calculated by in percent by this formula, where the WB is the number of weed present per unit area before operation. WA is the number of weed present per unit area after operation. Now, the soil pulverization is the process of breaking up the soil into the small aggregate resulting from the action of tillage forces, and the mean mass diameter aggregate it is considered as a soil pulverization and can be determined by the sieve analysis of the soil sample through a set of standard test sieve. And sieving provide a simple means for measuring the range of clod size and relative amount of soil in each size class. Now, this is the procedure first to collect the material from the area by 150 by 150 millimeter and to the depth of operation of the implement. Then wet the material accurately and pass it through the setup sieve with a aperture size 11.28, 5.6, 4 to 0.8 and 2 millimeter. Wet the material shifted through each sieve and the material retained on 11.2 millimeter sieve. Then calculate the percentage of the mass of material shifted through each sieve and that shifted and written on 11.2 millimeter sieve. And the material passed through and written on a 11.2 millimeter sieve should be taken as a percentage. Then plot the curve, sieve size and percentage of mass material shifted through each sieve. Now obtain area of the shaded portion of the curve by planimeter. Now obtain MMD by multiplying the area of the shaded portion with MMD equivalent to 1 unit area in the graph. This is the graph sieve analysis curve for mean mass diameter. Now this is the data sheet for material of the construction. You can see the data of test, then material in column second, the component in third column, material, size and mass. And this is the data sheet for width and depth of the cut. Again, it contains the depth of time or gang angle, then calculation, then soil pulverization table you can see. Then this is the data sheet for width and depth of cut, soil pulverization. This is the data sheet for power requirement. This is data sheet for field efficiency. Now the another method of the to measure the MMD, that is the mass the soil sample through set of sieve which the soil written in a largest aperture sieve pass through each sieve and pass through the smallest aperture sieve. Therefore, MMD is calculated by this formula where MMD is the mean mass diameter and W is equal to the summation of the A, B, C, D, E and F, where X is the mean measured diameter of the soil cord written on the largest aperture sieve. This is the table. You can see the mean mass diameter calculation method. First column size of the aperture, then second is the diameter soil passing through the upper sieve and retained on the next small aperture sieve, then representative diameter of the soil in a millimeter, weight of the soil in kg. Now the draft measurement, for there are two different methods for measuring the draft of the manual operated tools and trail type of implement. So for manually operated, the since ready-made dynamometer for manual operated tools might not be available at present, especially measuring the apparatus must be devised and fabricated, although the regarding or indicating type strain gauge meter can be utilized as a part of the apparatus, but it is expensive and too sensitive to field the condition. For drill type implement, the draft required for pulling the implement can be measured by inserting a spring or strain gauge type diameter between the hitch of the implement and power source. And we can say the D is equal to P cos theta, where D is the draft, P is the pull measured by diameter, theta is the angle between the line of pull and horizontal. For mounted type implement, draft can be measured by two tractors, and diameter of the implement is mounted on a tractor A, and this tractor is stored by another tractor B. Through the dynamometer measure the draft when the tractor A is in a neutral gear condition, but implement in operating condition, and again then when the implement is in lifted position. This is the you can see in a figure how measure the draft of the mounted type implement. Now the fuel is a very simple method to measure the fuel consumption. The tank is filled to full capacity before and after the test, and amount of refilling after the test is consumption of the test. While filling up the tank, careful attention should be paid to keep the tank horizontal and not to leave the empty space in a tank. Therefore, the fuel consumption will be given an idea of energy requirement by the implement of the operation. Now the ease of the adjustment and operation. The complete record of provision for various adjustment to cover the wide range of operating condition and ease of carrying out of the adjustment should be maintained during the apart from this, the ease of operation of the implement should be observed critically and reported. Now measure the specification for disk flow. Remember that the disk used in a disk flow shall conform all the requirements stipulated as per the IS code. So disk 610 to 810 millimeter nominal size shall be used. For frame shall be capable of sustaining a pull 9.8 Newton per millimeter of the nominal size of the disk without permanent deflection or change in a shape. Now the angle adjustment and the flow shall be 42 to 43 disc angle, and tilt angle shall be range from 50 to 25 degree. The moldboard cutting edge of the shear shall be beveled to the distance not more than 10 millimeter, and thickness of the cutting edge shall be between 0.5 to 2 millimeter and should be uniform as far as possible. And the countersunk bolt shall be the 10 mm size, used for fixing the shear of the frog as far as possible. As a bolt of EM10 size should be used, and the shear shall be supplied with bolt in holes. In disc harrow, the numbers of gangs used as a 2 and 4 types of disc, generally plain or notch. Number of disc minimum 4. The disc size 455 to 660 mm. The 4 disc gang, the size of the disc should be not more than 610 millimeter. Length of spool 175 or 225 plus or minus 2 millimeter. And the gang angle up to 40 degree. The ground clearance 1 to 5 millimeter. This is the material composition of the disc flow and MB flow. Disc flow, MB flow, and disc harrow. The material for different component of the disc flow. This is the material for different component of the disc harrow. Now these are the reference. Thank you.